But there's an exception to that, and it's called the emergency statute under the CPRC, which if an officer is involved in an emergency situation, which is a large exigent circumstance.
Immunity.
Yeah, you're excluded from that liability. And so what winds up happening is the city files what's called a plea to the jurisdiction. And essentially what that plea says is the court doesn't even have the authority to hear the case. So it's absolute immunity. So because you have commanders in the department listening to lawyers who are trying to navigate liability, you wind up with policies that cause inaction. Because what they do is they say, well, we don't want to commit to anything because we think that might make us liable. When I'm now a lawyer reading the law going, no, you're immune. Not only do you not have liability, you have immunity, statutory immunity. You can't get touched with a 10-foot pole.
Well, the assistant chiefs and everybody down doesn't believe that. They don't know that because they've been told ad nauseum in every class that you're about to be sued at any time.
I disagree. I understand what you're saying. So in my situation, it's like, okay, we got the whole Black Lives Matter thing going on. We don't want to have to shoot black males. But, we're kind of protected. So, if we do have a car chase and they run through that intersection and kill that family of 4, what liability is there really for the city?
None.
So that's why they wanted but they wouldn't actually say that. It was just implied.
Yeah, see, and that's something I've always tried to explain to people for the last 15 years, is there's no cost to the city for the death of an innocent civilian. None. It costs them nothing for innocent people to die. And unfortunately, the state legislature is filled with, God, I'm going to say this, Republicans who have no idea what they're doing. And so they fashion these laws thinking that they're protecting cities, political subdivisions, and by protecting the government they'll make it better for taxpayers. No, they're making it worse for taxpayers because what winds up happening is this negative incentive matrix develops where police departments make decisions that put the health, safety, and welfare of innocent citizens at the highest risk. So it actually takes your what did you call it?
Priority of life.
Yeah, and flips it upside down.
Mm-hmm.
And the people with the most to lose are the innocent civilians you're allegedly trying to protect. But all of the laws and the policy do absolutely nothing to protect them.
That's right.
And it's just shameful. And unfortunately, it is such, not trying to be insulting to people watching, but it is such a complicated legal conundrum. People can't wrap their head around it because they don't want to accept the fact that the politicians they elect to public office don't really give a shit about them. And even if they did, don't know how to put the proper policies in place that will actually protect innocent civilians. And as a result, what you wind up with is departments who become stultified. That's the word I use. They're not paralyzed. I mean, they try to do something. They write a report, they take pictures of your dead body.
Reactive.
Yeah. So they're stultified so they don't really know what to do. And that's kind of what I hate so much about how departments are run is they scare themselves into non-proactive or just reactive police work.
Well, so you've educated me because you're a lawyer guy. But for some of us in the department, a good bunch, we're bound by like what's morally right, and we're to protect innocent citizens. And so vehicle pursuits are inherently dangerous and obscure the priority of life. And we don't want to have vehicle pursuits. I mean, just as a very last resort. And so morally, my supervisors, other commanders in the department, they're on board with that. But when it got up to the command staff, to the appointed politicians, because all those people are appointed and they own their, paneled office and all their perks because they're appointed ultimately by the mayor or the city council. And somehow that gets very obscure.
It is as simple as this: bean counting. They know that if an officer uses his vehicle as a tool to stop a criminal who's fleeing, it might cost the city $40,000 to replace that vehicle.
Maybe.
But if the suspect is able to run into an innocent family of 4 down the road and kill them, that costs the city nothing.
That's right.
So they would rather that
Right.
than cost them than pay $40,000 for a new patrol car.
Or in my case, if you ended up shooting suspects of a certain ethnicity and inflaming the Black Lives Matter and having riots, we don't want that. So let's take the chance of killing the innocent family because, we're not liable and we're not going to have, riots.
And it's just gutless logic, gutless cowardice logic. And that's what drove me crazy when I was at the department.
And so, I'm a little bit of a rigid ideologue, and I would not. I was looking to get some other tools that LAPD SIS had used to take on these crews, but it was contrary at the time to the department policy. And, they were just locked, and they just couldn't make any decisions, do anything. And it was always, we'll let you know if you do the right thing, but you need to probably have a vehicle, take the chance of having a vehicle chasing.
So that was the chain of command at HPD?
Yes.
Okay. So who was it easier to work with, or who did you feel was more effective in dealing with these really cartel-like crimes you were dealing with? Was it the FBI, the ATF, or? So,
kind of interesting. So I had a 12-man unit. I had 2 ATF agents that worked with us, and I had an FBI agent. FBI and the ATF don't really love each other. So I was always kind of keeping a balance. The FBI comes with all the toys and the technical knowledge, and ATF came with more on the ground, helping with the tactical things. But my issue, all vehicle tracking devices have to be controlled by CID, which is a problem because then you have this big bureaucracy and, hey, I've got this vehicle and, I've got a court order for it and I've got it in sight for maybe just a few minutes where I can get a device on it. I can't wait for CID to come out there and try and do it. I need my own tracking devices. Well, ATF came and said, hey, we're going to lend your unit, 10 tracking devices. And that was really big. That's really got us off. So ATF was really good in that regard, but the FBI came in really powerful when it came to geo-tracking of cell phones and identifying burner phones and some of those things.
Didn't they have that van with the cameras?
Yeah. You have to read the book.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, there's a pretty cool van.
Yeah, I don't think he wants to spoil the book.
Oh, I did. Spoilers. Spoiler alert.
And man, the resources the FBI has is just tremendous. I mean, one of the vehicles that we wanted to track, we did track, and we know they were going to use it in a lick. And long story, but we had it in our possession for just a couple of hours. And the FBI flew down a team from Quantico, landed over at Ellington, took the vehicle apart, put cameras, microphones, additional tracking devices in it, so we could give it back to the bad guys so they could use it in an operation.
Did it work?
Yep.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
You have to read the book.
Okay.
Yeah. It's in the book.
So,
So the hardest part of your job was dealing with your own chain of command?
yes.
Okay. And you attribute that to them getting, or I attribute it, I don't know if you agree, but to getting a bad advice from lawyers who surround the department who don't really know what they're doing.
I think it's, they're lawyer-centric, but also they're appointed. So they're police officers, but they're, at the end of the day, they're politicians. And so it's an appeasement of whatever the political correctness or the atmosphere of the city is.
So how would you characterize the current administration of the department?
Well, so I've been retired for a little bit, but I have a lot of contacts within the department. And so for the most part, a lot of the proactive policing doesn't happen anymore. They don't care for Chief Finner. Just like they didn't care for Chief Acevedo, and they feel like anything that they do, even if their intentions were correct or the political activists don't like it, then their careers are forfeit.
So what characteristic would you say exists right now amongst the command staff, including the chief's office, that really paralyzes officers from being proactive and keeps them from
I think a lot of it has to do with the Black Lives Matter movement, that they're just afraid that proactive policing is going to inflame that small section of the community, and the city will have riots or fall apart. And I think that's the operational issue.
Okay, and what is the result of that? Like the increased robberies we see in the Galleria area?
Yeah, well, it's just observe and report. So you got burglarized, you got robbed. I'm going to come, patrol officer, make a report. Some detective's going to get it, and he's got 500 other cases, and he'll try and solve it. Probably not, and that's police work.
So basically, your average citizen on the streets of Houston is basically on their own.
Yeah, a lot of times.
So concealed carry permit, constitutional carry, make sure you know how to defend yourself, and get ready for some kind of self-defense.
It's interesting that you mentioned that. A lot of the robbery crews, like when they're doing pawn shops or cash stores, they wouldn't do the mom and pop places. They would do the national chains, because they had policies where their employees couldn't be carrying firearms. So they knew that was, you don't want to go into some place where somebody might have a gun and shoot you. But they knew that Easy Pawn, for instance, unless there's a security guard in the front office, or front parking lot, the employees in the back, they're not armed.
So it sounds to me like what you're saying is gun-free zones invite crime.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I think everybody knows that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they haven't figured it out at the schools yet. The school district hadn't figured that out yet. But, I can understand you don't want, your schools flooded with guns, but at the same time, I think that, teachers or the vice principal or the principal or, just able-bodied faculty members could carry weapons and, help defend their students.
Yes.
So to the audience, if you're carrying a gun, make sure you carry a gun and you don't leave it in your car. Because these thugs and robbery crews, where do you think they get their guns? All these BMVs? Okay, yeah, we get a laptop or whatever, but what they're looking for is they're looking for guns, because that's something they can traffic in or use in their actual operations.
Okay, interesting.
Carry a gun, don't leave it in your car.
So what was, give me like 2 or 3 examples of incidents or crime scenes you were involved in with these robbery crews where it resulted in like a pretty dramatic shooting or something that kind of just...
There's a bunch, but I'll give you this one. Robbery crew.
Which one?
Well, hang on.
Okay. All right.
So they're pretty active. Got a tip from Northeast. Pretty good information. Put a tracking device on a vehicle that was probably the shot caller. And we're following them around. Nothing's happening. Kind of forgot about it a little bit. Then it got active again, and now he's driving around, and they're going to pawn shops. And they're walking into the pawn shops, and they're looking around. Well, they're scouting. And this goes on for a couple of weeks. Nothing's happening. Coming to the office one morning, and one of my computer whiz guys, whatever, he's looking at the tracking, the map and all that, and he goes, "Hey, has anybody looked at the white Buick?" We're tracking numerous vehicles, so it's not like we're just doing one cruise. I go, "No, I hadn't looked at it." He goes, "It's parked near, at such and such a location." Okay. It's only 500 yards away from that pawn shop that they were looking at last week. And it's, so we do the Google Earth thing, and, it's in a business parking lot, with a business offices, and these guys aren't businessmen. So we jump in our cars, we run out there and head right to the pawn shop. And I sit up on the front door, and some of my other guys there, I go look at the white Buick, see how it's loaded, who's in it. And it was actually Ben LeBlanc, and he goes, "It's empty, it's parked." And then I realized what it was going to be a pickup vehicle, and at any second a robbery crew was going to come in and hit the pawn shop. And so I'm calling it out, putting the guys, we're all undercover, and I was wrong. They were already in the parking lot with us. They were parked towards the front in a stolen truck that had just been stolen and not reported. All of a sudden, you see the doors explode open, and all these hooded, armed black male suspects run into the pawn shop, and they take it down. And, we got caught off guard. So we're waiting for them to come out, going to, confront them when they come out. The guy, the guy, he kind of peeks out the front door, and they must have got hanged up because instead of coming out the front door, they then decided to bail out the back door. So the two guys I had covering the back had been involved in a shootout like a couple of weeks before with another robbery crew and killed one and seriously wounded two others.
Isn't that why you put him back there?
Yeah, I put him back there to keep him out of the drama. Well, so now these black male suspects, they all run into I call it the alley of death, with guns in their hands, and they get mowed down. 2 killed, 1 wounded, and that was that robbery crew.
Let me tell the audience here what he means by mowed down. Okay. Well, seriously, I mean, I know all the cops out there going, well, I know what happened. Okay. You had robbery suspects running out with guns in their hand. Okay. I don't know how many classes I've taught on action beats reaction.
I'm just going to touch on that.
Yeah. So when you tell a person, you see they've got a gun in their hand, they just committed a felony, okay, like a robbery, and you say, let me see your hands, or drop the gun, that's their cue for, oh, it's my turn. That's their cue to shoot.
Yeah.
Okay. People, unless they come out and see you and drop the gun, I don't know if any pistolero out there is such a gunfighter that they're going to wait. And you say, drop the gun. And as he goes like this, you come up and shoot him like they do in the movies. Okay? It doesn't work that way. It is, hey, drop the bang. That's how it bang, drop the gun. It's before the drop the gun is when the bang happens.
Yeah, so that's kind of Hollywood stuff, that freeze, police, drop your gun.
Yes.
Every shooting that I was involved in, like when the DA's office, the civil rights people come out and they go, did you give a verbal warning? Nope. Yeah, I mean, I didn't have, he had a gun, he was right there. Like you said, he just committed a felony, action beats for a reaction. I got him before he got me.
Yes,
and they're like,
exactly.
And they were like, okay, good enough.
Well, the LAPD used to teach drop the gun. Okay, and what was her name? I think Lim, was it? She was the one who was, she was involved in a shooting where some guys followed her like 30 miles. She didn't see, like these gang members following her 30 miles, and she had her off duty stuck in her, under her arm, and had all her softball gear getting out.
She got shot in the heart.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so she steps out of the truck, and the guy comes up and sticks a gun in her face. Okay, well, he's already got the gun in her face, but she grabs her gun and goes, drop the gun. Yeah, and what did he do? Okay, shoots her through the heart. Okay.
She survived.
She shoots back at him. He falls down, but she told this story at a lecture I was at, and he falls down behind the vehicle. She comes and pies around it and sits there while 4 more bullets go past her head. She realized, I'm being shot at again, and shoots and kills a guy. This is LAPD. Stop that, okay? Because drop the gun gets you shot.
Yeah.
At active shooter training, we would tell you, if you say drop the gun, we're going to shoot you.
Can I ask a technical question?
Yes. Sure.
Okay, so what kind of weapons were these officers carrying? AR-15s?
Yeah.
Were they fully auto or semi-automatic?
No, only SWAT has fully auto. Okay. And even then, we don't use full auto.
Okay. And do you have to purchase your own weapon?
Yes.
Okay.
Of course.
So, okay. So they have to purchase their own AR-15. They have to equip it themselves. Mm-hmm. Okay. So it's not department issued anything. No. All right. And when they're involved in the shooting, I understand, for example, your sidearm would be taken to the firearms lab, and do they do the same thing with the AR-15?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And is there any technical specification that the weapon has to meet, or is the officer able to do whatever they want with the weapon?
No, there's definitely protocol for that. At one time, it was really cool to paint your AR like camouflage or stuff like that, and they said, no, you can't do that. Oh, okay. So
that was those range instructors.
So when I was a patrol sergeant, there was a hostage taker threatening also to go to DPS and shoot up the building. We spotted the truck. We have a car chase. It's a female. And we get the vehicle stopped. Everything looks good. The hostage got hold of the handgun, throws it out, and then the hostage taker jumped out of the vehicle, runs around, picks up the pistol, and my partner and I, we kill her. He's using an AR-15, and he had a red dot sight on it.
Aim point?
Aim point,
Yeah.
very good. And a standard issue, but it wasn't allowed or by department policy, or it wasn't excluded by the department policy, but some people in the department wanted to make issue that he was using unauthorized equipment. Even though, you get more accurate, shots, it's safer for the community. Well, the same guy, Heath Bounds, we were big advocates of mounting lights on your handguns because Heath almost killed a guy in a car chase. He pulled something out and he thought it was a gun. At the last minute, he didn't shoot him. It was a cell phone he wanted to call his mama. We're trying to give him voice commands. And so this is back before it became mainstream to have lights on your handguns to actually identify what the threat is on a night shift rather than all those people that got killed or suspects that got killed over the years because they were trying to throw a crack pipe or, had a cell phone or something shiny in their hand that wasn't a handgun. But it was dark and you couldn't really tell.
Right.
And the department gave us hell over. I had written a proposal. It got posted in the union. The department shot it down because they were afraid of that one stupid officer that was going to use his handgun light as to write tickets with.
Well, in the command staff, I was up there when they were talking about it once,
Okay.
Clicking the PowerPoint buttons, for SRG, and they used this example. What the officer
directing
did,
traffic?
directing traffic with your pistol. And my reaction was, well, fire him.
Yeah, and that's what my position was. Well, then discipline the idiot police officer that would do that, but don't take away this valuable tool. Think about the people that we won't have to shoot.
Yes.
And eventually they came around to it, and now you go to the academy, and the cadets actually are issued holsters for handguns with lights mounted on them.
And red dot sights.
And red dots on their carbines so you can
and their
shoot
pistols.
more accurately. Yeah.
And their pistols.
And their
really?
pistols.
Yes. You have to have it on there now.
Oh, that Glock interactive, what is it?
Yeah, there's several different
RMRs,
models.
whatever, yeah.
But, so this is back in the day, and, Sergeant Heath Bounds and I, we went through hell. I mean, command staff, we wanted to try to change the uniform so we didn't look like security guards, and so people weren't confused, like, are they the real police or are they a security guard? And it was just obstacle, and, I mean, we were actually defamed,
It was. I remembered the union meeting when y'all had the uniform out there.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
You were there?
Yeah. And I was talking to Heath, and I was on one of the committees about the patrol rifle, the carbine. What do you call it? The pistol carbine. When they first started introducing that,
Okay,
and I was one of the ones that they got to come out and shoot. I was a distinguished expert, and so they got me and a couple other guys and a couple of people, and then some people in remedial. Okay, to shoot these pistol caliber carbines. I think it was a Marlin camp rifle, so which is it's a big clunky, but it's nobody dropped it out of the 7 at 25 yards. Nobody dropped it out of the 7. I mean, it was all right in here. This is the remedials, and mine all were on the 10 ring in a little group here. The next day they said no.
Probably because it looked too militaristic and it was too scary.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I know. I was at the range for years. Okay, I know. There's a lot of people who should have to carry a carbine. They should not be allowed a pistol.
Well, saying that, you never get into a shooting or a gunfight with a handgun. That's bad planning and last resort. You always go into a gunfight with a rifle.
Yeah, a pistol is only a tool to get back where you foolishly left your long gun in the first place.
That's right. So
Seriously?
yeah, rifle.
Yeah, rifle over a shotgun.
So what was the shooting incident that occurred? I think it was at a furniture store?
Oh, yeah.
Affordable furniture.
Where was that at?